Cool. No. Here's what you need to do. For the next several weeks, every time you see Neil, you need to tell him your name. In fact, I would tell him your name until he tells you your name when you're approaching him, and that's when you'll know he's learned your name. But until then, just be like, hey, and tell him your real name. Like, this is not your opportunity to make up like a superhero name or something like that. Although that'd be cool. Just attach it to your real name. Anyway, so this is Neil. We're super pumped he's here. Woo! Thanks, man. You're done. That's it.
Seriously ridiculous. We're continuing our series today on weird things in the Bible, in case you hadn't been with us. Weird things in the Bible. And today's story is no exception. Today we are learning about a talking donkey. Yeah, did you even know that was in there? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But I was thinking about it and I was like, that's really not all that weird in today's terminology. I mean, today we've seen talking everything from talking toys. We've actually seen other talking animals, just like the dog we just saw. And we've even seen talking vegetables. Right? Yeah. Oh, and you know what? To think about it, we've actually even seen a talking donkey.
He can talk. That's right. Ooh, now I'm a flying talking donkey. You might have seen a house fly, maybe even a super fly, but I bet you ain't never seen a donkey fly.
Oh, donkey. He gets me every time. But okay, these are obviously made capable because of technology. And today we're talking about an actual mammal that was talking, right? But, to come to think of it, there's actually animals, real animals, that do that. Eventually.
I'll see you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile.
Okay, but we've seen parrots. We know parrots can do that, but have you ever seen a dog talk? I love you. I love you. Okay, maybe he doesn't have the best dialect, but that's okay. But what about goats? Have you ever seen a goat talk?
What? I don't know, dude. What? I don't know. Here. What?
Maybe these animals weren't exactly talking intellectually, so to speak, but, and I come to think of it, I've never actually seen or heard of an animal, besides this story, of an animal actually speaking intellectually to a human. But that doesn't mean it couldn't happen, and I definitely believe that God has the power to allow animals to talk if he so chooses. And so today our story comes from the book of Numbers, chapter 22. And the whole book of Numbers is basically like the culmination of Israel coming out of Moses, got them out of Egypt, and they're traveling through the desert trying to get to the land that God promised them. And we've actually heard about this earlier this year in Exodus when our dear friend Travis told us about it. Oh, wait a second, that's the old Travis. No, the new Travis has hair. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna lie, Travis, you look pretty good as a blonde. Just food for thought, my friend, just food for thought. But he told us about all the weird plagues that went on. And then he told us about Moses getting the Israelites out of Egypt. And so that's what they're doing right now. They are going out of Egypt. And the entire book of Numbers is about them going through the land of Egypt. And that's really what sparks and starts our story today. But it's really important to know how many of them there were. And estimates put them at a close to 2 million traveling through the desert. Now, when too many people are traveling through the desert, they eventually came to towns. And they wanted to pass through them. And so they finally came to this one town called Moab. And the king there was named Balak. And when they showed up at Balak's doorstep, so to speak, he was kind of like, what? I got that picture straight out of the Bible. I think it was the Photoshop version of the Bible, but nonetheless, it was there. And so he was like, what? And he was like, okay, and he was just really scared. He was scared that they were gonna like come in and mess up everything, but they weren't. They were really peaceful, and they would have asked his permission to go through their land. But he got freaked out, right? And so he was like, what can I do? What can I do to stop these Israelites from overthrowing me? And so he was like, oh wait, I know what I can do. I'm gonna call on my boy Balaam, because my boy Balaam, I want him to come, and I want him to put a curse on the Israelite people, so that they cannot overthrow me. So you can think of Balaam kind of like a wizard. Balaam Potter in the Order of the Balak. Wow. I'm not gonna lie, that looks like a really good movie if that were to come out. I think if that movie came out, I think I would buy like 50 tickets, and I would probably go with my friends and see it at like midnight. And then if anybody there was having a birthday, I would sing happy birthday to them at midnight. I just want to thank you guys for that. That was awesome. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, you'll figure it out. Okay, so Balaam was known for doing things like this. In fact, Balak said about Balaam, a little bit of wizardry there. For I know that whoever you bless is blessed, and whoever you curse is cursed. So Balaam has a name for himself for doing this kind of stuff. Okay, so Balak sends some servants out, and he says, all right, go get Balaam for me. And they take the typical wizard's fee with them, and they go to Balaam, and they get it to Balaam's house, and like, hey man, we got some Israelites, and they're messing with us and stuff, and so Balak wants you to come and put curses on them. And Balaam's like, all right. Why don't you guys just chill here for the night, and I'm gonna go talk to the Lord and see what he says about it. And they're like, oh, okay. So Balaam at that night, he goes and he prays and talks to the Lord, and the Lord comes to Balaam, and he says, hey Balaam, you know those Israelite people? Yeah, those are my chosen people. I got them out of Egypt and stuff, and they're my blessed people, so no cursing. And Balaam's like, oh, okay, my bad. I didn't know. All right, I got you. Okay, so Balaam goes back and tells the guys, and he says, no, I can't do it. So those guys go back to Balak, and they tell Balak what Balaam said. And Balak is like, what? Why is he refusing me? So he sends his servants back to go get Balaam, but this time with fat cash, okay? So they go to Balaam, and they say, hey, man, we want you to come curse the Israelites. Please, Balak really wants you. And Balaam's like, and they said, Balak said, you can pretty much have whatever you want. You just come and name it, and you get all the fat cash you want. And Balaam's like, oh, okay. Well, I tell you guys what, why don't you stay here tonight? I'm going to go back and talk to the Lord again and see if he has anything else to tell me. And so they said, all right. So Balaam goes back, and he talks to God again, and he prays again. God comes to Balaam again. And God says, and Balaam talks to him and says, hey, they're back, and they really want me to go, do some stuff for them and curse the Israelites, and they're bringing more money this time, and so I was just wondering what he had to say. And God's like, okay, you can go, but you can only tell them what I tell you to tell them. And Balaam's like, okay, I got it, no problem. So the next morning, Balaam gets up and he goes with these guys, and God gets angry at it, and he puts an angel in the road to oppose Balaam. All right, at this point, it's time for an intervention. Intervention number one. See, at this point, I was a little bit confused, because reading the story in the Bible, God just told Balaam he could go, and then he gets mad at him for going. And so here I was a little confused. And of course, I'm paraphrasing the whole story. In the Bible, it's a little more complex and hard to understand. But so at this point, I had to stop, and I had to do a little bit of this thing called research. Learn from me, people. Learn from me. When you're reading the Bible, sometimes it's tough. Go do some research. Figure things out for yourself. And that's what I had to do. Did some research. Because at this point, I thought that Balaam was a good guy. And the reason I thought he was a good guy is because 2 times he went and prayed to the Lord for answers, right? So it makes you think, okay, he's a man of God. But it turns out that he's not really a man of God. In fact, there's some clues for that. He's known for cursing. That's not something that a Christian, godly person would do, right? And so when he goes back to pray to the Lord, what he's actually doing is going to pray to like false gods or his spirit gods or evil spirits that he's normally going and accustomed to go pray to. It's kind of like his little ritual thing. But in this case, the real God decides to show up, and it kind of foils his plans. And so the second time he comes back to ask God a question, it's really kind of disrespectful, because God's already given an answer, and why is God going to change his mind so you can get more money? So it's kind of disrespectful, but he's just coming back to him out of greed. He just wants that fat cash, like we said. And so when God tells him the second time, okay, you can go, it's really kind of like God is saying, okay, you can go, but you're still going to not be able to curse the Israelites. And so it'd be like Balaam getting up to Balak's door and be like, no, hey man, I'm here. I can't curse the Israelites, but I'm here. Okay? And Balak would be like, what? Why are you even here? What's the matter? So it didn't make any sense for him to go. And so but Balaam is so consumed by greed, and he just is like a 2-year-old, and he just wants that candy or something. And so when he hears from God, okay, you can go, like he says, okay, that's like all he heard. He had like tunnel vision. Okay, I can go. I'm going to go do this. All right. So he goes, okay, so back to our story. So where were we? Oh yeah, God puts an angel in the road to oppose Balaam. But here's the thing. See, Balaam can't actually see the angel, but guess who can? The donkey. It's not talking yet, but it's a donkey. Nonetheless, here's our donkey. All right, so the donkey can see the angel. Now, what's the donkey going to do if it sees an angel in its path? It's going to stop, or it's going to go off the path and not go in the direction that Balaam wants it to go. So what is any red-blooded man going to do when his animal's not doing what he tells it to do? He beats it, of course. Yeah, no. He beats the donkey until it gets back up on the path and goes back down the path. But the angel shows back up. So what does the donkey do? It goes off the path. What does Balaam do? He beats the donkey again. He beats it till it gets back up on that path and starts going where he wants it to go. And, oh, there's the angel again. Oh, what's the donkey do? Oh, what's Balaam do? I think you guys are smart in getting the point here. He starts beating it again. And this is the third time he's beating it. And at this point, the donkey's pretty much had enough, right? And this is the point where the donkey the Lord gives the donkey speech, lets him talk. What does the donkey say in this situation? Hey, why are you beating me? I'm kind of paraphrasing what he says. And so what does Balaam say back to him? You're making a fool out of me. If I had a sword right about now, I'd mess you up. I'm kind of paraphrasing, you know what I'm saying. So what does the donkey say? Hey man, have I ever done you wrong like this before? Have I ever led you astray? And Balaam says, no. I'm not paraphrasing, that's actually all he says. But see, the Bible's not extremely descriptive on this point. You know, the Bible's trying to get the point across of the whole story, and so it doesn't go into the details of, I think it was more like, at this point, Balaam was so mad to begin with, but at this point he realizes there's a donkey talking to him. And so instead of just no, I think it's more like he stopped beating and kind of backed up and be like, no? Kind of like a high-pitched squeal, no? And I just really wanted the Bible to just get more descriptive, and maybe that he had some sort of reaction kind of like this.
Griffin, we need to talk.
I really wanted to read about Balaam freaking out and running and just face planting into the dirt, and then the guys that were with him being like, oh, crud. Well, I guess they didn't have that terminology back then. Oh, well. But that's okay. I'll let it fly. So, okay. Briefly back to our story. So, we're dealing with... yeah, briefly, because we're... Briefly back to our story. This is the point where God opens up Balaam's eyes, and now he can see the angel. And I would imagine he's a little more freaked out than he was. Excuse me. And so the angel pops up and he says, hey, I'm the reason that your donkey was going every which way. And if it hadn't have gone every which way, I would have killed you with my sword. So basically he's telling Balaam, hey, your donkey pretty much saved your life. Why are you beating it? You mean old man. Balaam just completely drops to his knees and grovels at the angel's feet and says, oh, I'm sorry. Intervention number 2. Hey, let me ask you a question. Why do you think that God even decided to show up to Balaam? I mean, it's not like Balaam had any real cursing power. He couldn't actually go curse the Israelites. Well, I believe he showed up because he loves Balaam just like he loves each and every one of us, and he's just trying to teach him a lesson. And he's doing it, yes, granted, in an unusual way, okay? But think about this. How much more could God have done to to get the point across to Balaam. I mean, he did like 3 major things. Okay, he talked to him. He sent him a talking animal. And he put an angel in front of him. He's demonstrating to Balaam, I'm the real God. All these false gods you've been messing with, no, I'm the real deal. And I'm trying to help you. And Balaam is just kind of not getting the full point. Our story doesn't really end very well. You see, Balaam, he doesn't get the whole point. He gets like half the point. He gets, okay, I cannot go curse Israel. I got it, God. I can't curse Israel. But he pretty much still has his eye on the prize, and his eye is the gold that he can get, the fat cash, so to speak. And so because of that, that's getting in the way of him having a relationship with God. The God who's demonstrating to him, I'm the real deal. I'm the real God, showing him his power. And so Balaam, he couldn't let go of what was in his way to have that relationship, and that what was in his way is his greed, is the gold. Okay, so Balaam became very manipulative, and I'll sum up the whole story right here. Balaam, he still went to Moab, to Balak, and through a long series of manipulations, he didn't curse Israel, but he did everything he could. He tried to find a loophole to get the money from Balak. And because of all those manipulations, he actually caused Israel and the Moabites to go to war with each other. And Balaam was on the side of the Moabites, and he got killed by a sword. All of that because he couldn't let go of the greed. So what's the point? If your life is filled with greed, in this case, Balaam's case, then when God sends you a talking donkey, you'll respond to that talking donkey with greed, with whatever you filled your life with. Now, some of you get that I'm not actually talking about a talking donkey in this sentence. So what is a modern day talking donkey? Well, in this day and age, God had to do a little bit of extraordinary things to get people's attention and help them learn about him. And so, like, we learned about, like, when I talked about Travis went through the Exodus and get sent the plagues down to show Pharaoh he's the real God. The burning bush, the 10 Commandments. You got Balaam. You fast forward all the way to the New Testament. God sends Jesus. Jesus gathers together 12 what? Disciples, not 12 talking donkeys, 12 disciples. Because God's wanting people to relate to people. People are starting to get knowledgeable now, and so he wants them to talk to each other. He wants us to have relationships with each other, instead of sending a bunch of talking donkeys all the time running around. And so today's modern day talking donkeys are all those people that were talking about 12 disciples, and others started writing all this stuff down, writing history down. And so they put it together in books like the Bible. That's one of our modern day talking donkeys. And then we have people who learn about, who read up about, read in the Bible and learn it a lot. And then they can teach us. So we have ministers, and then they have their experiences, and they talk to us. And then, of course, youth pastors do the same thing. But it could also be any person or event that God puts in your life to help you learn a lesson or to help you on life's journey, to get closer to him, to have that relationship. Those are our modern day talking donkeys. So fill in the blank for yourself. My life is filled with blank. Every one of you has to answer this question for yourself, because each one of you has your own interests and things that you fill your time and your life with. Are you so focused on them like Balaam was, that when God sends you a talking donkey, you forget your relationship with God and you focus on the worldly thing? My life is filled with blank, and when God sends me a talking donkey, I respond to that talking donkey with blank. Whatever you put in the first line goes in the second line. Some typical things that people might have, bless you, that you might strive for would be popularity, self-image, laziness, sarcasm, hatred, doubt, self-doubt, video games, the next best thing. Think about your life. Do any of these fall into your category, to the point where it's like God sends you a talking donkey and you're like, oh, wait a second, God, that's really not going to make me popular with this group of crowd. Well, wait a second, God, that's really going to eat into my video game time, and I'm really going for the top score here. Or maybe it's not negative things. It doesn't have to be any one of these. It could be multiple stuff, but perhaps it's positive things that you're filling your time with. Honesty, integrity, diligence, hard work, patience, compassion, dedication, etc., etc. When God sends you talking donkeys and you respond to them with these types of positive reinforcements, then God is working in your life and you're getting to have a relationship with him. The other things that were just up there cause distance between your relationship with God when you react to your talking donkeys that way. So don't be a Balaam. Don't let your worldly pride get in the way of you having a relationship with God. And like I said, only you know you, and you can't kid yourself. You can talk to other people and say, oh, and weasel your way out of it. No, I'm kind of like this and this, but you know you. You know you better than anybody. And so I challenge you today, this week, to think about, as you're doing your normal, living your life, what kind of things are you doing with your time? And is that something that can help you have a relationship with God? Or are you focused, like Balaam, on the worldly prize and going for that? Because just like Balaam, God loves you, and he really wants to have a relationship with you. All right, let's pray. Lord, we ask that we have the presence of mind to see the talking donkeys and the road angels you send us. We ask that we open our hearts and respond positively to everything you send in our path. Amen. So remember, next time God sends you a talking donkey, please respond appropriately.